Hello, James. Thank you so much to have you today talking about how the approach of education is changed because of COVID-19. So, James, as an educator, could you please talk a little bit more about how what are the major challenges you have faced now, because all of the teaching have been moving online because of COVID-19?
Yeah, look, I think the biggest challenge that we've faced has been the fact that things changed very quickly. And so I think the online approach to teaching has to be different to the face-to-face approach to teaching. You just can't take what you do face-to-face and just simply put it online. You have to think differently about how you deliver the material, about how you engage with the student cohort, and how you and the sort of tasks that you set, the assessment tasks. So the thing is that requires planning and consideration. And one of the big challenges that was just the amount of the rush it was to move from face-to-face to online. I think that was the biggest challenge. The second challenge, I think, for many was that, for many students, they haven't got a culture or they haven't got experience of online learning. So they found it hard to adjust. So there was a process of not only thinking about how I am going to take my materials and put them online in a very fast method, but also thinking about how can I ensure that my students feel comfortable as that happens. And so there was a number of that was the second sort of challenge. And the third challenge was to sort of think creatively about how you want. I always enjoy presenting classes that are interactive, and obviously the type of interaction you have online is going to be different to the interaction that you can do face to face. So then thinking about creatively about how you get people to interact, how you get people to stop and think and engage with the ideas. So it's not just a talking head on the screen like you have now, but more like a multi-way communication, which is what I like my classes to be.
Those are quite a lot of challenges we are facing as students as well. So giving that kind of consideration, what are the ethnic implications of online teaching? Because, normally university often adopted various group activities and other social learning methods in a classroom environment, for example, like group discussions and field trips. How those limitations can be overcome?
Yeah, look, I think there are a number of ethical implications to moving online. Look, the first one is a very pragmatic one and links to my previous response, which is not all students have the same confidence to engage online. And so then you have to think about, well, what sort of tools am I providing my students to transfer to this online environment? The second ethical implication is simply a resource issue. For example, not all students are going to have access to the latest technology. They're not all going to live in locations where they can, have the great Wi-Fi. They're not all going to have, I suppose, living environments where they can sit in a quiet room and engage with the materials. And so they're kind of, that's a resource implication. And the third thing is to realize that you are in some ways entering someone's house, and that has to be done in a respectful manner, just as they're entering your house. And so it's also being mindful of the fact that you are entering these different that this is a very, very different environment. I think you can you can overcome these firstly by ensuring that, like I said, you provide the right materials and the right tools for people to sort of extend to sort of be able to adapt to online learning. The second one around the resource issue is about providing different ways for people to access information. So one of the things I've been doing is not only doing the live lectures, but also recording shorter lectures for students who may not have the resources or have the ability to listen to me live. And the third one is also being mindful about the environment that I set, about the environment I set when I'm entering people's houses, and what my own environment looks like when people are entering my house.
Wow. Okay, those are very practical and also ethnic considerations for students. That's great. So I also want to ask you whether you say, do you perceive a cultural shift in teaching methods to a more innovative digital formats in the future? For example, what does the future of university education may look like post-COVID-19?
Yeah, look, I think there's probably been a number of cultural shifts. One of them has been driven by the fact that people that have resisted using online technologies have now been forced to use them, and I think that's been a positive thing. What I wouldn't want to see now happen longer term is just for people to say, oh well, this is now the answer to everything. I think what we need to do as educators is be open to different delivery methods and innovative methods, depending on the context of which we're teaching, as well as the context of the materials we're engaging with. So I think that sometimes online is a much better way to deliver some materials, and I think face-to-face can be a powerful tool for other materials, and a combination of both is just as effective. So for me, I mean, what the cultural shift has been is to highlight what's possible. But I think where we need to end up is not just to go one way or the other, but to assess, I suppose, how the learning that we want to do, and identify the best method of delivering that learning. And I think that will vary on the subject matter. It'll vary on the subject. It'll vary on the week to week that you're doing. But hopefully this experience, what it's done, it's changed our attitudes, changed people's attitudes to what is potentially available online. And I think that's incredibly powerful. You know, and I mean, I'll give you one example where, you know, this is nothing new in some ways. With when I was working with the graduate research school, we introduced shut up and write sessions, online shut up and write sessions. And, you know, everybody thinks that those shut up and write sessions need to be done, you know, in a room together, or, you know, in one location, but doing it online could be just as powerful. So I think the cultural shift is really about highlighting the possibilities, and highlighting the fact that we as educators need to employ different tools to achieve the educational goals that we're pursuing.
Thank you for that. And I have one last question. In terms of education for international students, because it means like the university, like everything, if everything is learning online, what does that mean for students cross the borders? Actually, you know, they can do this kind of learning from home. And how does this kind of online learning process or teaching process would embrace international students, like as kind of a group, a different group than domestic students?
Yeah, look, I think the impact of, or how it can be used with international students is a really important one, because part of the international student experience isn't just the education. That's, you know, that's a significant part, but it's not the only part. The other part is the social experience of being a student in a different culture.
and also the process of socialization, of experiencing a different culture, of the kind of the cultural exposure that you get to being somewhere else. And I mean, that for me, when I've studied or taught internationally, it's not just the sort of the educational component; it's the social, cultural exposure and experiences that have been just as valuable. So I think what will happen with COVID, as hopefully borders begin to open, what this has done is what will achieve one thing, which is, I suppose, to highlight that online education can be just as good as face-to-face education in most instances, and also it can be quite social, because being able to do breakout chat rooms and people studying together online has highlighted that it can still be social in one way. What it doesn't make up for, and I think what will continue people will desire, is the cultural and social experience of traveling to another country and immersing yourself in a different culture. So I think, again, what we need to then do is think about how we can achieve the best of both worlds. So, for example, one of the models that we have is a student come here and travels here for 3 years. Now, not all students from around the world can afford to do that. So maybe a better model, or one option, not necessarily a better option, but one option would be to do one semester here, and then then go back home for 2 years, and then come back for the final semester, or a combination like that. So I think this gives us the opportunities to reflect about the best way we can deliver education, and also use this as to meet the needs of those who want a full 3, 4, 5 year experience internationally, but also those who want an experience in a shorter time but can't afford to just come here for a holiday, but want to immerse themselves in education. So maybe just make it a semester long. So I think the potential can be really positive if we learn from this, and I think international students can really benefit from the way that we shape those opportunities.
Thank you so much, James. I think that, those are the questions for today.
Thank you so much.